My name is Stephen Martin Welch. I'm a painter and I based my career around portraiture. I enjoy the continual challenges that different characters bring to my work, and they allow me a huge opportunity to vary my style. And no two sitters are ever the same. My sitters today are a pair of up-and-coming young politicians who battled each other in the tight race for the seat of Auckland Central. Very different and yet highly driven individuals. I'll be meeting Jacinda Ardern, the Labour list MP, and asking her about her outlook on life and how she got herself into the political jungle. Then I'll be going behind the scenes with the equally dynamic Nikki Kaye and finding out what makes this young national MP really tick. And if you want to make yourself comfy in the green chair,
thank you.
I'll just grab my paints and such. Where did you grow up?
Basically small town New Zealand,
Yeah.
different versions of it really. I was born in Hamilton, but when I was four years old, my dad, who's a policeman, got a new job in Murupara. I think it's probably lucky that I was 4. I didn't have to go through the teenage angst of shifting to a new town, but we moved there, and so I started school there and stayed there till I was, a little bit older, and then moved to Morrinsville. So we were small town.
We moved around a little bit, but I was in the North Shore and in Kaimara and in Parnell.
So school-wise?
Mainly in Auckland. Victoria Avenue Primary, Remuera Intermediate, then Corin. Pretty involved with everything. So I ran competitively, loved my debating. I think I was chairperson of the chess club at one point, but I pretty much did everything.
When you're getting towards your senior years at school, is that when you sort of developed an interest in, what you're doing now, or was that later on?
I'd always been pretty opinionated and always sort of cared about helping people. But then when I was in Dunedin, I got asked to come and meet an MP, and it was Catherine Rich, and went along to Young Nats meeting and was an elected women's vice chair. So sort of got involved at university.
Yeah.
My first, real job was when I was 14. I remember my mum packing me off downtown with all my school certificates and telling me that I had to go to every little business along the main street until I found a job, and so that's what I did. It just so happened that it was the fish and chip shop that had a spot. So every Friday night for I think about 3 years, I worked at a fish and chip shop. For 3 or 4 hours a night, selling fish and chips to all my school friends before they went out for a night of partying.
My parents have always instilled in me the value of work, and I think just working in some of those jobs, sometimes pretty hard and you don't always get paid that much, was just that value of work, but also the need to get a good education. I worked at New World as both packing shelves and checkout operator, cleaned offices, cleaned hospital toilets.
Now, you were also on TV though, weren't you, at a young stage as well?
Yes, in my 7th form year, I was selected to be thrown on an island off Great Barrier with a whole lot of other New Zealand teenagers. So it was a really interesting experience actually, because it was a bit like Lord of the Flies. Yeah. And their thesis was, could New Zealand teenagers survive if they were thrown on an island? So it was quite hard, but it was a really good experience. It really did test me in terms of how I could get on with people. It was a crisis situation, and also get people who were under significant pressure at the time, including, they were feeling pretty tired and hungry, to be able to work and feed the group and just keep warm and safe. People involved in the program came to me and said, you should, you sort of been good at leading the group, but how about you step back? And that sort of was an interesting experience for me, because I said no, I wouldn't do that, because it was a reality TV show.
Did you travel when you were younger, or...?
I didn't really travel until I started working, and I was on a board for an international political youth organisation, and that would send me overseas sometimes 4 or 5 times a year, and I managed to get to places like Palestine and Israel and Lebanon and Algeria, and places I otherwise would never have travelled to, and refugee camps that I didn't even know existed, and that, you know, that was, I'm really grateful for it. You know, in OE, you know, you pick and choose and you end up going to the places that your friends have told you about, and instead I got to have an experience meeting people I otherwise never would have met, so it was great.
So we'll go forward a little bit, go to your OE. Did you have a particular place in mind that you were going to first, or it was just book my ticket and I'm gone?
Definitely wanted to head to London and work in London, and so went over with my ex-boyfriend and landed there and worked there for about 3.5 years. I worked in social services and I worked in transport for London, working with some pretty vulnerable people around welfare to work, but also some people in terms of older and mental health services and transporting them. And I was there when the bombings happened.
Oh, really?
2007, which was a really quite a powerful experience just being there.
How did you feel that what was your reading on how the city changed?
Well, I mean, that whole day, it's sort of, you have moments in your life that sort of really stick with you, and that day will always stick with me. I mean, because when the bombs happened, for a reasonable period of time, people didn't know exactly what had happened. Because I was working in transport for London, I had a bit of an indication earlier on. There wasn't much time in it, but at that moment when you don't know, for instance, I don't know where my sister was or where my boyfriend was, and you're just desperately trying to get hold of them, and then the phone lines go down, and it sort of makes you very, very appreciative of home, that we don't have anything like that happening here.
Jacinda and Nikki are fascinating sitters for me, because beneath the polite surface, I'm getting that they are both made of strong, ambitious stuff. What are some of the sights and smells and sounds that you really remember about the Middle East?
Yeah, I remember when we were in Palestine, we went to a place called Nablus, and it wasn't a town that, you know, you saw tourists going into, so I did feel like I stuck out a bit. I was travelling with a Swedish guy and an Irish girl and me, the Kiwi. It sounds like a bad joke. And just walking through the town, you know, there was set up like an old market, just all the spices, the colourful spices. And as we walked through, we were with a local, and so everywhere we stopped, you know, we were being passed different sweets to try. And of course, the pipe smoking in the street always let off a really strong smell as well. I mean, I loved it. It was an experience that it struck me when I was there that Israelis couldn't have. They weren't allowed to come over the border. Yeah. And so I was seeing something that, you know, they wouldn't see. And how can you bridge understanding between two places when you can't even visit one another's markets and towns? So, yeah, it was a great experience.
And did you feel personally safe most of the time on either side? I
was pretty aware that it was a bit unusual for us, definitely unusual for us to be there. Yeah, it wasn't an optimal situation.
And you're List MP for Central Auckland?
I am.
Yep. How was that fight?
Oh, it was good. You know, it was a close and it was hard fought. You know, it had quite a bit of profile to it. It was quite a public campaign, that one.
Why do you think that was? I mean, they really did focus on both of you.
Yeah, sadly, I think it's still a novelty in New Zealand to have young people in politics, and it's sadly still a novelty to have young women in politics. And so I think that probably drawn a bit more attention, and I hope one day that you know, races like that will be much more common than they are now.
Did you fight tooth and nail?
We did. I gave it everything I had, and that was all I wanted to do. I knew that I would wake up on the day after the election and feel content if I felt like I did everything that we could. And it was a good race, you know, so yeah.
I've always said Jacinda's a strong candidate, so it was a tough battle, but I was very fortunate. I built a really good team around me, so I had some quite amazing people. We had about 100 people, I think, on the ground in the last few weeks, but it was intense, and I think it was good at one level because the number of young people that sort of contacted me as a result of probably the battle, but also I think I knocked on 10,000 doors again. So it really encouraged me to get out there again and just be on the doorstep. And so, yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Did you get a lot of constituents really surprised that there's Nikki Kaye at my front door? Most of them dressed, hopefully?
Some people do get pretty surprised, but most people, it doesn't matter who they vote for, they love it. They love the fact that you've taken the time to knock on their door.
Although I felt the loss, but I felt it because of the amount of work that they all put in as well as me. I'm the one person that stands up at the public meetings, but behind me I had such enormous support and such an amazing team of people, you know, hundreds of volunteers out on election day that, you know, I felt so proud of the work that they'd done and what we'd managed to build. But, you know, I felt like we also made a really good effort. I mean, there was a massive swing across the country, and yet we managed to halve the National Party candidates' majority in our area. So, you know, I thought we had a lot to feel good about as well.
Fighting another candidate for the seat while you were in running mode, is there a different attitude towards them? Because I take it you get on okay with Jacinda outside of, you know, in normal politics, but when you're running, is there an attitude change there?
Look, some politicians are tribal. I'm not. I have relationships with politicians right across the house, and so for me, you know, I think Jacinda and I get on. You know, we get on well personally. But yeah, naturally, when you're in competition against each other, it probably does get a bit more competitive. But you know, we saw each other, I think, just right after the election, and you know, I think we get on well. And as I've said before, you know, I'm sure we'll work together on 1 or 2 projects in the future.
Tell me something about you that not many people know.
When I worked at the fish and chip shop, I remember a young person coming in one day who I didn't recognise and placing an order and going down the back and suddenly hearing the till ring and glancing down and he was pulling all of the cash out of the till and yelling out to my boss, and we ran down the street after him. And that night I went to the infamous Morrinsville College head boy head girl party. When I arrived, seeing across the paddock the guy who had robbed the fish and chip shop that night, and I quickly kind of hid behind a tree, and I remember thinking, I've got, you know, a couple of options. If I call the police, you know, this party's over, or I thought I could just get a bit creative. So I remember finding my friend Virginia, who was, you know, a really attractive girl, and filling her in on the situation and asking her to go over and, you know, see if she could convince the guy to give him her phone number for a date. So she did. I stood back and I remember watching her go over, and no more than 10 minutes later I had his phone number.
Crime Stopper.
Oh, hardly.
I once won an indoor surfing competition when I was 10.
Where?
Down at it was the Oriental Markets.
And they had one of those...
They had this little surfboard that was...
A mechanical sort of...
Yeah. And I won.
What'd you get?
Well, that's the interesting thing. I was pretty gutted because I must have been 10, but I got like a plastic baby doll. So I thought it wasn't the best gift for winning a surfing competition. But no, it was...
Maybe that's all they had on hand, because they thought maybe a young boy was going to take it out, and they had like a boogie board all ready for him, and then...
Then they had to give me that.
Have you had your portrait done before?
I don't think I've ever had anyone draw a picture of me, except for maybe my niece and nephew, actually, stick figure.
And they're always honest.
They are. Yeah. Well, I tend to try and not worry about things I can't control. So at the end of the day, you've got the brush, so whatever will be, will be.
Yeah.
Power's in your hands.
Choice.
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. Thanks very much. Hello, I'm really happy with the composition. I've got everything in place. I've got a definite picture of where I'm going. Thank you so much for coming and talk to us.
Thank you.
It's been lovely. And look, we'll get you back as soon as it's done.
Fantastic.
Great. If you go on the internet,
Yeah.
type in Jacinda Ardern, on the third line of the
Yes.
Google is your teeth.
Yeah. So I'm told, yeah.
Do people come up to you quite a lot and talk about your teeth? They feel that they know you and you're open enough, they can just come out and ask you a question about them.
A little bit during the election campaign. I remember someone coming up to me and asking me whether my teeth were real. And I said, I don't think she expected me to say this to her, but I said, if I was ordering fake teeth, do you think I would get them in extra large? She was good-humoured enough to kind of nod along.
From what I know of you, you're smiling.
Yes.
I mean, it's quite a standout, it's actually a beautiful feature. I wouldn't be...
I don't keep it on all the time. There are times where it's just not appropriate.
Oh, sure. No. Yeah. Okay, Jacinda, I think that's as far as we're going to go today. Thank you so much for coming in. It's been lovely talking to you.
It's been really nice to meet you.
Oh, it's lovely.
I look forward to, I think, seeing the finished work.
Jacinda's prime feature is, of course, her smile. So should I capture this defining feature or not? If I don't, will the work really be her, or will this feature dominate the portrait? Somehow, I've got to resolve this question when I get back to the studio. From my point of view, painting a well-known public face, you set yourself up for a lot more criticism from critics or the general public, because they know that person's face just as well as you. So if you're not technically sound, you'll pay for it, for sure. With Nikki's portrait, because she's a politician, I think a lot of people think that she's quite thick-skinned, but after I've talked to her, you know, she's just as sensitive as someone else, and that's the way that I'm taking the portrait. Technique-wise, with the painting here of Nikki, it's quite flat, because I want to give it a softer look, so I'm not really throwing the paint around. I'm really taking my time with my values, where I'm just lining up my darker values and my lighter, and I'm making sure that they blend really just with no effort. Pinning it on, changing the value, putting that one back on, and then it just slowly just works itself away. It's great. Let's just go up to the easel and we'll get it out of the way.
It's the big moment of truth.
The big moment. Look, I'll tell you what, if you can just face me.
Right.
Okay, I'm just going to go and get it.
I don't have to close my eyes?
No, you don't have to close your eyes, you won't see what I'm bringing in. I'm going to walk out.
Okay.
I'll leave you to it.
You'll hear this scream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just when you're ready. Okay.
Oh my gosh. He was lying. I take up that whole thing. It is quite something. I didn't know what to expect. Probably not that. That's quite... it's quite full frame.
It's sort of a piece that you've got to stand a good, you know,
Yeah.
8-9 feet away from. I've gone for that really thick abstract because because we're standing here, it sort of all makes sense.
Yeah.
We're going to go up close to it in a second and have a really good look at it, because then it doesn't make sense. Just all these little captions of your life, just colour and texture. I don't think I've made your mouth smaller. I'm
used to billboards where it seems to take up about 3/4 of it, but no, it's definitely my smile.
Yeah, but I think it fits the work really well.
I think that's what I look like most of the time.
This is the moment. How are you feeling?
Oh, not too bad. A little bit nervous.
Yep. Well, look, let's just get into it. If you just want to come close to me, just stand there. I'm just going to go and put it on its easel.
Okay.
I'm going to come back. Don't turn around.
Promise I won't.
Good. Just wait. I'm going to leave.
Okay.
When you're ready,
Just turn around.
just turn around.
Great.
Good luck.
Thank you. Wow. The eyes look like Yeah, I really like the eyes. Oh, that's great. That's awesome. Wasn't what I expected, but I like it. I really like it. Yeah, just the eyes sort of pop out at you. But it's, yeah, no, I really like it.
Well, you're standing close.
Yeah. It's just saying I really like it.
Good. Oh.
The eyes I really like the eyes, the way that you've painted them.
I started with the eyes first.
Yeah.
For you, because, I don't know, just went through that process. Once I got the eyes down, the rest of the painting sort of just followed in.
But it's,
followed in behind
I
it.
like it because it's sort of, I look open, or...
Yeah. Do you feel that a lot of people don't see you that way, or...?
I mean, I think people do, but I probably need to spend a little bit of time with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think it looks like me?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. I like the long form. Yeah.
See, my hair's always messy. It doesn't matter how much I get it straightened.
Wispy, natural kind of, thing.
Wispy,
messy. Oh, it's nice. I can't tell whether you're about to laugh or cry though. Do you know what emotion that is?
Well, we were just talking about it, and Marty thinks contentment.
Huh.
But yeah, it's interesting because I think the eyes are quite glassy.
See what I mean? Quite large.
It's quite big.
It is quite big. You're calling my head big?
No, no, not at all. Jacinda.
Thank you.
No, it's got quite a lot of texture.
Now you can tell me whether or not you think my mouth is actually smaller in this than in real life.
I think
now she's thinking there's no right or wrong way to answer this.
I actually think it's fairly accurate.
You're such a politician.